I'm good.
All good? Ready to roll?
Ready to roll.
Backbone, episode 8 or 9, I think. My guest, Sasha Ryzy. If she needs an introduction to you, you're probably under 30. This girl, woman, mother, has done it all in snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
Freerider, pipe, competitor in all of those. Event management.
Yep.
Team manager.
Yep.
Development for Burton.
Yep.
Volcom.
Volcom, Burton, yep.
Mother. Wife.
Yep. 2 boys.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sasha Ryzy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
No worries. We're here at Benuna. Bit of a late storm for spring.
Uh-huh.
Had a few laps. Is this your first, second? How many trips you done here this year?
I think, no, this is like our 3rd or 4th.
Third?
Yeah,
Yep.
to Benuna. But we've been up, I got passes for the boys this year, so try and get up here quite a bit. So I think we've done like 10 or 12 trips from the coast. So,
Cool.
yeah, which has been good.
Yep.
And did some throw-bow and bank slalom and all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
So
How'd you go in the
that's good.
slalom?
4th again.
Oi, 4th.
Yes,
Didn't get on the
just
podium.
Didn't get on the podium. I
No.
was like, damn it.
When was the last time you were on the podium?
2 years ago.
2. What'd you get?
3rd.
2 off. There you go.
Had 3 thirds and then 2 fourths.
Is that same division Wiki wins every year?
Yep, same
Yep.
division. Yeah.
There you go. Well, let's go back to the start.
Yep.
Peer Gynt. Is that where it all started for you?
Yeah. So
Skiing, snowboarding.
So my dad and my grandfather, they actually built Peer Gynt.
Yep.
At North Perisher, and I was born and kind of raised up here until they had it until I was 6.
Yep.
So we would do the coast in the summer, and then we'd be up here basically from like April through till November or sort of thing, end of the season. And so we did that for a while, and my dad was skiing instructor up here, and taught me how to ski.
Mm-hmm.
My grandma bought me some, so I was on skis at like 18 months.
Yep.
So I had some skis from Switzerland that she brought back over, back in the 70s.
Yeah, back in the day.
Back in the day, and so I skied basically right up until I was 19 sort of thing. Did all the inter-schools and all that kind of stuff. And then, and then went to, when I finished school, I went straight over to Austria.
Yep.
And Brad Spalding, who's got the Brumby, the distillery at Thurbo.
Well, Brumby.
He and Monica, they did this kind of program where you could go over there and get your ski instructor's certificate in Austria, and you'd go there for like a month, get all your certification, and then you could work over there as an instructor.
Okay, yeah.
So I did that, and then in the process of that, I saw snowboarding.
Yep.
But when I first saw it, there was no boots for me, there was no snowboard for me, I was too little. Okay. And then when I was in Austria, that was the first year that Burton brought out like Burton Air and kind of did that whole program.
Yeah.
So I went in, bought myself a Burton and got all my Burton gear, and
I'll put a pic up of that, because I remember when I showed one on Instagram, you sent me a message saying that was my first board.
Yeah.
So I've actually got a picture of that one. Yeah.
I still have it, and so jumping forward from that, because remember when everyone went through that phase of cutting the boards?
Yeah.
That's what I did to my Air, and I'm like,
nah. Collectors
so
would
up
just
to
be
the house,
losing it watching this. Yeah,
it's
right.
So it's like tails chopped off, nose is chopped off.
Oh,
so cool.
Wow. You'll have to send me a photo of that
I'll have
then
to
for
send you a
this.
photo of that. Yeah, so I destroyed my beautiful first snowboard.
Wow. Oh my god. But it's probably got a killer story to it, I suppose, but not really to a collector anymore.
No.
That's for sure.
Not to a collector. So then started snowboarding in Austria.
Yep.
And lived over there for a while. Like I had, from my parents, I have a German passport, so I could live and work over there and do all that sort of stuff. And then came to Australia and did a season here, and actually got a job, my first kind of job in retail with Bart and Sue in the snowboard store down there.
Yep.
And that's where I met like Timmy V and all that kind of crew. And
interviewed him the other day.
yes, did that, and yeah, and then just I don't know, kind of like just started rolling from there.
Yeah.
And kept traveling with snowboarding. Kind of got a bit of a sponsorship through. So did have then. He started basically Burton and Volcom in Australia.
Yep. Where's Fab?
Where's Fab?
Yep. Yep.
And so met him at Thredbo through Nilo and Luke Reichinger had Good Board Store.
Okay. Yeah.
So all that kind of crew, and yeah, Wes put me on some boards and some gear, and then so like back then we had to have like you kind of got invited to stuff. You couldn't like just film wherever and whenever.
Yeah,
so Gav O'Toole had organised a trip to go to Japan.
Yep.
And so myself, Neil Hardwick, Gavin, and I've forgotten the other two that were on the trip. That's super bad. But yeah, he organised. So we went to Niseko.
Yep.
And there was like 7 of us.
Stewie J, was he on that trip?
No, it was before that crew.
Okay,
and
sorry.
yeah, and was just us, like no other foreigners there. There was like one other foreigner. So Niseko used to be, most people know Niseko now is all like blown up and developed.
Aussies and everywhere, yeah.
So when we went, it was a little potato farm village.
Yep.
And
what year was this? Like 96,
97.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty old and ghetto and like not many people there. And then so we did, Gav had organised it all, and we did a trip up there, and it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. So Gavin O'Toole, you're talking photographer Gavin O'Toole,
back in the day. So Gav had done a lot. He worked with like Snowboarder magazine and this like the skiing and snowboarding.
Yeah.
So back in the day, sort of when getting into the mags, you basically needed to be invited by a photographer. Like, like listening to Charles's conversation with you and his episode, there were these gatekeepers, and
100%.
you know, it was like you had the photographers, but then you had to get through the editors, and then like hopefully you would get a photo published in the magazine, you know, and then also whether the sponsors were sponsoring that particular magazine and paying and doing
there's
advertisement,
the political side of that thing
all that
too,
kind of stuff was going on with it as well. So so we had a really good trip there, and got some great shots, and had a pretty successful trip. And then I went to Europe and hung out in Europe for a bit, and then was in the States, and then Tony Harrington, so also photographer, but then also did so much stuff, the event manager, and Heli Challenge, all that kind of stuff. So Harrow organised a trip for snowboarder again, and invited, so the King of the Hill was on up there.
Nick Parada's event?
Yep.
Or Paranta.
Yeah, and we went up there with Neil Hardwick and Marguerite Cossettini, Timmy V, Harrow, and his partner at the time, Kathy, who was also taking photos.
Okay.
And that was pretty loose.
Yeah, I can imagine back in those times.
It was pretty crazy, and we had this like van, and all of us would like jump in the van and like drive up the pass, and we were all in Valdez, and it was kind of crazy because at that time, like also like all the TB. So basically, I was like looking back at it. It was like TB 2 and 3 that was being filmed.
Those big,
so all those big film crew were in there, and it was just like such a mecca of stuff that was going on at the time.
At that time too, that was.
Yeah, it was.
It was the peak. It was right there, right? Like Alaska was the head of the enders in every vid, the main parts of every vid were there, and you're there amongst it with those guys too. Did you realise at that time, like, what was that was the pinnacle of snowboarding, not for you, but like for everyone in the industry at the time? Like, did you realise, or were you just going with it? Like,
I kind of was just going with, like, I was just stoked because I love snowboarding, but also my big thing was to travel, and Alaska was always like a big check. I wanted to do this, and got to see like the Northern Lights in Alaska, and you know all these like massive bucket list of things I wanted to do was also there. But then getting to see all these amazing riders, but it was also like, it is scary as shit because then there was no guides.
Yeah.
So like now it's very controlled. You've got guides with you and you know, all that kind of thing. When we went, the guides that we had, so we had Jason Beaton, who was good friends with Timmy V.
Yep.
He had been up to Alaska a couple of years beforehand, so he was like our guide.
Yeah.
And you either had the choice of going on a plane, and that would sort of take you pretty high but into the valleys, or you go up in a heli, and you would pay for your trips with casino chips.
That's Timmy V mentioned something about this. So how did that work?
I don't know why. Like, I don't know. But
Is that
I
because
just
it was
remember,
cash and it stayed the same, or like
maybe because it was like you had like $50 for a plane, and that was like your, I don't know, whatever the 50 was, and then like the gold was $100 for a heli chip.
Yeah, okay.
And obviously at that time too, like the Australian dollar to the US dollar was like, it was so expensive.
Yeah.
But then we would go up in the plane. I remember my feet have never been as cold in the plane as that trip. And then we'd all go up and go on the heli like a couple of days. But then also because everybody was up there, you kind of had to wait your turn to get up there and whatever. A couple of people had passed away because they'd gone into crevasses. And again, because there's like no, you know, there's no guides. You just like drop off, see you, like, because everything comes down to the pass at the top. So there's this big road that runs through the middle, and then the mountains run up the side, and the helis take out. So you always just end up on the road somewhere at the bottom. But yeah, it's pretty loose.
Wow. So I won't focus on guys that just like gone in the thing. But with that sort of thing, you're there. Obviously, you've built your snowboarding up to get there. Did you think that you're ready for that when you got there? Like, are you just going, I am so out of my league?
Oh, 100%. I had like my 145.
Oh my God.
Was
it a noodly thing? Or back then it's probably like, pretty stiff anyway.
It was my air.
Oh, really? That one of those?
It was like, it was pretty. I was like, oh, I'm so out of my depth. And because Marguerite and Neil and Timmy, they were all competing in the King of the Hill. Yeah. I had just gone up there with them all and was just shooting. And then we'd like build kickers and, you know, get shots, which I did get a double spread in the snowboarder out of that one.
There you go.
Thank
Sweet.
you, Tony Harrison. That was good. But yeah, it was pretty crazy, definitely. Yeah. Like I think back about it and I was just like, that was loose. Yeah. But it was just the most amazing. Like I remember coming in the heli and just like seeing Marguerite on the top of this crazy peak and just being like, oh my God, we're going to come in there, and just even getting out of the heli, like the heli would come in with the foot of the heli and the mountain was like so steep, and we had to like crawl out of the heli and like bang into the heli and just hold like into the snow, but the heli was just like hitting the top, the rotor was just like hitting the top of the snow,
the actual
and it was like just in this thing. And then it would just like pull off, and you was like, oh, into the mountain going, shit, just like, it was pretty nuts.
So you got peeps in that then? Like,
we had peeps, and everyone had backpacks and everything with us.
So did you own that before you went? Like, because obviously you haven't been heli yet.
Yeah.
You got it.
I kind of had a bit of experience from Austria.
Europe,
so like, being in Europe and Austria, like you just. And then especially with ski school, like they kind of drilled it into you with, I mean, avalanches were going off on a regular basis over there. It's kind of, they just...
It's constant anyway.
It's constant. So I guess in that way I was a bit prepared and I knew what's... So, and we were kind of lucky there was no abbeys that sort of went off in that time. So we were pretty, so that was good. And then... we had the King of the Hill, and Neil and Marguerite, and that got to compete in that. So that was awesome to watch them do all of that. And then Julie Zell won, and Rob Kingwell, he won that. And their prize, which I think is amazing, their prize, they got this massive salmon, both of them, like the big Alaskan salmon. Julie couldn't even hold the salmon.
A real one?
Real one. And then it fed, like, that night after the event, when it finished, So they announced, you know, it was like prize giving.
Yeah.
And prize giving was a massive, like,
Salmon,
huge salmon
really?
for both of them. And
Yeah.
then they cooked it all up and fed, like, all 60
Everyone, so it
competitors.
all gets...
Yeah. So
Wow.
everyone got fed from the salmon, and they had these big, they got big Alaskan crabs as well.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
We wouldn't even get a prize up here
No.
these days in an event, let alone like a salmon or
I
something.
know,
Like,
pretty
it's
random. It was pretty good. And then we had, and then that was right before Pennywise blew up, and then they had Pennywise, they'd flown Pennywise up to, it'd be like the closing act.
Really?
Yeah, and so there was like 60 of us in the Valdez pub, which was just like this.
Rocking out to
Rocking
Pennywise
out to Pennywise.
before they were... Yeah, wow.
With that,
there you
and
go.
everyone was doing like that Stand By Me song, and just everyone was like in a big like train, and it was so fun. It was,
Yeah,
it was
right.
pretty crazy. It was pretty good.
It's pretty wild to be... How old were you then?
I was 20 because I remember the security guy. I was running from him all night trying to get, because he had to be 21. Yeah, I was under 21, and I was like, oh, come on. And then at the end, I'm like, please, dude, like, it's Pennywise, just leave me in here. And he was like, ugh, okay, just go.
Wow, you wouldn't get that now. You'd be fine.
I
And the
know.
pub would be getting
I'm
shut
like,
down.
please, they're my favourite. Let me do it.
So you're 20 in Alaska, and how long have you been snowboarding for? I suppose you grew up down there though, like, so you
But
probably
I'd only snowboarded for maybe 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Some of the girls that are watching this are going to be thinking, "What the hell?" Because I know some of you girls are ripping, but 4 years and you haven't even left the park. You know what I mean? Like, I was speaking to one of the girls we've interviewed. I won't throw her on the bus. She'll probably say it anyway. But she was saying like she's been to Blue Cow once this year and was like, "Where are we?" when she was on her way down. Like, you know, yeah. Anyway, like, that's pretty wild. So 20 there, you come home to here. After that, what's the next step for your snowboarding wise in Australia after you, like, obviously Alaska's nothing like here.
No.
You come back here the next year, what's the focus then?
So that's when I that's when it sort of took off, because I'd done that. Then I got photos, right, in the magazines, because I'd done the trips, and then that was like, okay, but we're like, all right, okay, and so, that was kind of like my focus too, of like doing my best, getting on the trips, getting in with the photographers, and getting in those magazines, because then I knew that would
give you somewhere there and a platform.
Give me a platform to go. So then it just kind of went up from there, and I just competed, and the competition scene in Australia then was it was really vibrant. Like, there was every resort. Like, we would every season kind of go, you know, you go from like Threadbow. Like, Threadbow was kind of the mecca of snowboarding, of like where everybody was, and Shrebo,
Shrebo.
And you had like the Coca-Cola Classic, and they had the half pipe as well, and then the big airs, and they had multiple big airs.
They have shred for bread, leap for loot. Yeah. Something else, dash for cash.
Yes, dash for cash.
There's like 4 or 5 events with proper money in them too, right?
Yeah. And then also like Bulla would have events, and Falls Creek. I remember back in the day, Falls Creek, people would go there because Falls had the pipe.
Yep. And that was up high too, right?
Which was hand dug.
Hand dug.
It was like this big. Yeah. But so fun.
Bet you that wouldn't cost you $200,000 to build one of those, would it?
No. So but every resort, and then Hotham, and then we'd rock up to Hotham, and Hotham would have like a bank slalom and stuff, you know, and I kind of spent quite a bit of time because Marcus Whirl, so that's kind of the whole sponsorship and everything, and then that whole, like, you know, Burton, Oakley, Volcom kind of team started. So there was Neil, Marcus, myself, and Marguerite. Marguerite had Quickie though, so I was thinking about that the other day, because like, there was no Roxy.
Yeah, it was just
Quicksilver. It was so heavy with surf. The surf industry was so heavy in that, but they sort of shifted. They didn't shift to the girls kind of thing until Tora came along, basically. So, and then that she really pushed with the Roxy, and really got that going. But yeah, so that we would just kind of tour around and do our like competitions, and then keep going.
So
like
that was your
overseas.
crew, and that was your team too, right? Well, I remember
Yeah.
seeing you guys all hang together all the time
Yeah.
too.
And then also we would spend quite a bit of time in New Zealand.
Yeah.
So we'd have like Danny Bevan and Dylan Bart
Yeah.
and Q Robbins and yeah, like all that kind of crew.
Yeah.
Like there was it was super fun. Like
So
such a
Volcom
good
had
time.
a pretty solid base then, with like more like a family from what I saw as well too. You guys were always all together if you were riding.
Yeah.
Tell us about that sort of a relationship with Volcom that you had, like.
Yeah, that was pretty special.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty special. And I still have like so many awesome friends
From
from
that
all of
time,
that. Like
yeah.
so amazing. And like we were so lucky. Like when we started, you know, that whole story of like Volcom being sold out the back of the car. Like
Yeah.
I mean, Wes and JC. So Wes had all the snow stuff, and JC was like he'd come from a surf background,
Yeah.
so he kind of did all of that sort of surf side of. So they did the partnership, and they sort of, you know, built Volcom up, and all of us riders, like at some point, were in the warehouse packing
Yeah.
boxes, or you know, we were all like would help and hang out. And I remember they didn't have any girls' clothes, like, and they'd made little kids' t-shirts for myself. Shane Azar.
Yeah.
So Azar, I think I met Azar.
Now team manager of Volcom.
Now team manager of Volcom.
Hasn't followed the show, but we won't sit on that for too long.
So Azar, he was like 10. Dustin Dolan, he
Yep.
was like big skater.
The big dog.
He was like, I met him, was like 12.
Yeah.
So yeah, for all of us little ones, they made like these special like Volcom antes and stuff, and had
Yeah.
all this stuff. So that was kind of pretty special.
Yeah.
And then there was like Peanut, who was an art.
Yeah.
He did all the art stuff. Spilsy at the time was the surf team manager.
Mark or Joel? Was that Spillane?
Joel Spillane, yeah, he was. And then you know, like Bemrose would come in all the time, who's
Yep.
now the surf
The
thing.
big
Yeah,
dog.
so it was like, but everyone was just like family, and like Aussie would come in,
Yep.
you know, and all those crew that are now like the team managers, or you know, like we all just hung out. And that's what
Yeah.
I think I really loved about Volcom, because with the, not meaning to like bag anyone or whatever, but
Yeah.
with Quickie and all that, it was very male dominated. It was very just about surf, and
Yeah.
it kind of had that whole old school kind of
Yeah,
surfy
yeah.
vibe with it. And whereas Volcom was so like surf, skate, snow, and it was such a mix of
Yeah.
different people,
A bit more
and
creative
it's
too.
very
wasn't it?
creative. Yeah, so creative. And like, I mean, the garden was just
Yeah.
you know, amazing, all of that. So yeah, it was just very, I don't know, they came from that snow environment of, you know, like everyone hooting and hollering at
Yeah.
you going off like when you're on the lift, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
more family vibe.
For
And
sure.
it didn't, well, the skaters, like we'd all go and support the skaters and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. And so it was really special to
Yeah.
be a part of all of that. And so then we kind of just like did that, and developed into just riding a lot more and being sponsored by them. And
Yeah.
and then so I think like 98, 99, 2000, I did like I was like Australian champion.
Yeah.
Did all the half pipes, did all the border cross, and that was the other thing, we did everything.
Yeah.
Like we just border cross, half pipe, big air, went on trips, like whatever.
It was all in one. Yeah.
It was just like
Which you don't
did
see
it.
much of, like, especially right now. Like a lot of, I mean, it's sort of coming back, but a lot of up and comers are like street riders, pipe riders,
Yeah.
slopestyle jocks, you know, whatever it is, sort of thing. You
Mm.
know, I feel like a lot of people now are sort of touching their toes in other things. Run us through that, because like the guys you just spoke about, and girls, a lot of those did everything like you just said, but their roots were in one. How was that for you, going? Because I know you rode pipe as well too, right?
Yeah.
When you're just cruising around, are you all just following each other in a thing, or is there set things that you, like, as in when you're in a gang of Volcom people, you know what I mean? All mixed in that mindset.
Yeah, it was all mixed. I mean, we all rode pipe.
Yep.
Like, you know, like every kind of Japan Open or whatever,
Yep.
like Denny would be there, Marcus would be over there, like, yeah, and we'd always, you know, I saw like listen to Billy's podcast the other day, and he was like, you know, he's like, if you saw a stone on someone's board, you're like, hey, you know, and everyone was just like really welcoming to each other, you know, like, oh, who do you know in Volcom? And you know, and that was the other thing. Back in the day, it was like you knew everyone on the hill that was riding.
For sure.
Like you would never pull up in the lift line and not. I mean, yeah, you pull up in the lift line and you know people. Yeah. But like then you knew everybody. Yeah. Like it wasn't like, okay, there's our posse. Yeah. But there's like 100 other snowboarders around. You know, like it was like you knew everyone.
Oh, that's those guys and that's them and yeah. I remember even in '98 when we knew Jimmy McMillan. I think one of the boys was getting Volcom gear off him, and like he just second hand sort of thing. And he was wearing Jimmy's jacket from the year before or whatever. And I remember, like, your crew, like, we wouldn't have even known each other then. Someone was like, hey, like, as if riding towards us, like, that's obviously someone because of the jacket. We were like, these dudes know us, you know what I mean? Then they got, oh, you're not who we thought, and just rode off. And I was like, I remember seeing Whirly and thinking, fucking man, that's Whirly, you know what I mean? Like, he was a bit of he's a legend, like, one of the nice guys that I remember when I was a grummer. I hitched a ride with him from Jindy to Thredbo, and we were coming up on a red light. This is a Volcom story. Like, he had the Volcom stone in his car, and he was power of the stone, man, power of the stone. And then as we got to the light, it went green. He just looked at me. He's like, power of the stone, brother, straight through. You know, like it was. And I bombed in on Muscati, and he stopped and watched me, like, you know, at the top of Thredbo where if you're going through to Victoria where he was going, he dropped me and I bombed in. I remember thinking, I don't know if I want to bomb this, but he was hooting and hollering for me. I was like, better get this, you know, the big dog's watching. Like, so, yeah, he made an impression on me. You guys, as a Volcom team, seeing you ride around was definitely, it's different to now, you know what I mean? Like, it was like this, you guys were big time, like, and for us reading mags, like, I remember saying, I actually have the mag, that trip that you're talking about in Japan, to fan out a little bit here. And I remember seeing stuff like that and then seeing you guys in real life, and it was like, you know, I see 100 pros here every week now in Perisher, but back then it was a bit more, whoa, they're here, you know.
We had to work. I mean, I'm not to say that riders don't work. I mean, it's gnarly being a pro snowboarder now. Like, you're on the line all the time, you know, everything that they own, like the stuff that they do is so insane, and so much respect for all of that stuff. But I mean, I guess that's also the flip side with the accessibility of social media and everything that's going on, and like we didn't have that, so it was just, you were like, you kind of had that build up, and even, you know, to watch, like now you can just sit there and watch it on your phone and it's like sweet, but I mean, we were like, I just remember waiting for like the next TB to come out and be like, we'd go to the launch and be so exciting to see all of that stuff. So yeah, I think that build for riders back then was, and we were also experiencing as well the, like, you know, it was like the first time Pennywise was like, that kind of music was out, the 90s, you know, like all that kind of thing. The same like we were experiencing with Twist for the first time, or a 900 for the first time, or, you know, snowboarding was just evolving so much, and we were just kind of at the root of seeing all these riders and different people evolving, and which was pretty amazing. It was